Usually when you want to open like a massive heavy bank vault, there's this expectation of needing the exact complicated combination.
Right, yeah. A highly secure system supposedly requires a highly specific key.
Exactly. You need the manufacturer's code, you need a blueprint, you need the perfect set of conditions to even attempt it.
It's a very rigid way of looking at things, which is how most of us approach learning, really.
It is rigid. But imagine if someone walked up to that exact same bank vault, completely blindfolded, carrying nothing but a bobby pin and a cheap stethoscope.
Okay.
And they just pop it open in 30 seconds.
You would immediately assume it was magic, or, that they were some kind of savant who was just born with a superhuman safecracking gene.
Right, exactly. But then they turn around, hand you the bobby pin, and tell you, actually, there's just a mechanical system to this.
Like anyone can do it.
Yeah. There is a way to listen to the tumblers. Literally anyone can do it if they know what to listen for.
I love that.
And that is the exact scenario we are looking at today. But instead of cracking a physical bank vault, we are cracking the human brain's ability to learn complex systems.
Which is arguably much more valuable.
Oh, absolutely. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking the astonishing language learning secrets of a 94-year-old polyglot.
It's a fascinating story.
It really is. Our guide for this is this fantastic breakdown from a YouTube channel called Brain Scholar or Brain Jew.
Great channel.
Yeah, and our mission today is very practical. We are going to extract the actionable, zero-cost learning methods from this analysis that you can apply immediately.
Because this isn't just about languages, right?
Not at all. Whether you are tackling a new language, prepping to learn a new coding language, or just trying to pick up a new skill for your career, this applies to you.
It fundamentally reframes how we approach acquiring new knowledge. Because, well, the traditional methods we've all been conditioned to accept might actually be the very thing slowing us down.
Think about your own life for a second. Have you ever used the excuse that you have no time or no money or you don't have the perfect immersive environment and you just, give up on learning something new?
I think we all have.
I know I have.
Yeah.
You tell yourself, well, I can't learn French, I don't live in Paris, and I can't afford a tutor.
It's the standard defense mechanism. We assume learning requires this pristine set of external conditions.
Right.
But the subject of our deep dive shatters every single one of those excuses through a highly systematic and, frankly, very unorthodox approach.
Yeah, and to really appreciate the methods, we have to understand the extreme constraints this person faced.
We need to see that these techniques work under the absolute worst possible conditions.
Exactly. So we're talking about a woman named Kato Lomb. She was born in Budapest, Hungary in 1909.
Okay.
And the most interesting detail about her early life is her education. She graduated with a degree in chemistry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a scientist, an engineer by training, not a linguist, not someone studying literature.
And that background, it informs everything she did. She approached language not as this fluid artistic poetry, but as a rigid system to be decoded.
Yes.
She looked for patterns, structures, and variables.
And she didn't decide to decode languages out of, like, a casual hobby. It was sheer desperation.
Right, the 1930s.
Yeah, in the 1930s, the European economic crash hit hard. She has this chemistry degree, but she cannot find any work in her field.
Tough time to be a graduate.
Completely.
Yeah.
She's backed into a corner, completely broke, and someone casually suggests to her there might be some translation work available if she knew Russian.
So she just decides to learn Russian.
Just like that.
Yeah.
She decides to learn Russian. Now, keep in mind, she never lived abroad. She never had a foreign teacher.
No apps back then either.
Right. She never paid for a single cram school or tutoring session.
She literally bought a Russian novel and a dictionary, locked herself in a room, and went to work.
And it wasn't just Russian. By the end of her life, she had mastered 16 languages.
That is just wild.
It is. She reached translation-level Chinese in just 2 years.
2 years?
2 years. She became one of the world's very first simultaneous interpreters during the intense, high-stakes geopolitical pressure of the Cold War.
Simultaneous interpretation is difficult enough, but doing it during the Cold War?
I know. Okay, wait, let's unpack this for a second. 16 languages.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my sophomore Spanish class, sweating because the teacher might call on me.
Oh, the anxiety.
And I can barely order a coffee in Spanish today. It makes you feel like you just don't have the genetics for it, right? Isn't she just a massive genetic outlier? Like a language genius?
Well, it sounds superhuman on paper, sure, but Kato explicitly and repeatedly denied having any special talent or innate linguistic gift.
Really? She denied it.
Absolutely. What she had was that engineer's mindset. She didn't rely on a magical, absorbent brain. She built a reproducible system.
Okay, a system.
Yeah, and she eventually documented this entire system in her book, How I Learn Languages. The brain scholar analysis breaks down her success into core principles that absolutely anyone can replicate.
Precisely because they don't rely on talent.
Exactly. They rely on mechanics.
So if she wasn't relying on innate genius, her first logical steps had to break the conventional rules of learning we're all used to.
Definitely.
Normally, you buy a textbook, you study grammar tables, and you memorize vocabulary lists. But she threw that out entirely.
She went straight for the deep end.
Yeah, she started by diving straight into reading original native books from day one. And the wildest part, she strictly forbade herself from checking a dictionary when she read.
Which goes against every instinct a student has.
Totally.
I mean, we're taught that if you don't know a word, you look it up so you understand the sentence.
The Lomb argued that looking up words constantly destroys your reading rhythm. It turns what should be an engaging story into a tedious chore.
And when something becomes a chore, the brain instinctively resists it.
It's like pausing a really gripping movie every 5 seconds to check the IMDb trivia on your phone.
Ha, yes, that is a perfect analogy.
You completely ruin the pacing, you lose the emotional connection to the plot, and you just get bogged down in data.
You lose the forest for the trees.
Exactly. Instead, Kato said, you should guess the meaning of a word from the context of the sentence.
And there is a profound neurological reason for that. When you encounter a gap in your knowledge, your brain creates a bit of tension.
Like a puzzle.
Right. When you use the context clues to guess the meaning and you finally figure it out a few pages later, it creates this powerful aha moment.
Oh, I love those moments.
We all do. That chemical rush of realization, that hit of dopamine, it encodes the memory significantly deeper than if you had just passively read a definition on a screen.
Wait, hold on. If I am just blindly guessing what words mean while I read a Russian novel, what if I guess completely wrong?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah. Aren't I just going to permanently cement the wrong meaning into my brain? That feels really risky.
It feels risky because we are trained to prioritize perfect accuracy. But Kato understood that early language acquisition isn't about precision.
It's not.
No, it is about building momentum. Absolute precision in the beginning is far less important than creating a constant, low-stress mental environment where the language is allowed to live and breathe.
Okay, so just keep moving.
Exactly. If you guess a word wrong, but you keep reading, you will inevitably encounter that word again in a different context. Eventually, the system self-corrects.
Oh, I see.
The new context will force you to realize your initial guess was wrong, and that realization itself is another powerful cognitive jolt that cements the true meaning.
So you are allowed to be messy. You just have to keep moving forward.
Yes.
And that idea of a low-stress mental environment ties into another massive part of her system. She called it creating a language microclimate.
This is a beautiful concept. Because you can't always surround yourself with native speakers, right? So you have to engineer the immersion internally.
The Brain Scholar video highlights this incredible historical example of a man named Arnia Vabeli.
Yes, his story is amazing.
He was an orphan who grew up with absolutely zero money, no formal teachers, no travel opportunities. Yet he learned multiple languages simply by talking to himself constantly.
He created his own internal auditory environment.
Kato advises doing exactly this. You narrate your mundane daily chores in the target language.
Like doing the laundry or something.
Right. Let's say you're washing the dishes. In your head, or even out loud, you say, I'm washing the dishes, the water's a bit cold today, I should really grab a sweater later.
It's brilliant because it forces the language to map onto your daily routine.
Her philosophy is that grammar comes from the language, not the other way around.
Input first. You prioritize massive amounts of input first, and the structural rules of the system will naturally reveal themselves over time.
Okay, so we are throwing out the dictionary while we read to keep our momentum, and we are talking to ourselves while we wash dishes.
Yes, building that microclimate.
But at some point, you do have to look things up. I mean, she couldn't have guessed her way to translation-level Chinese without ever verifying her vocabulary.
Of course not.
How did she actually use dictionaries if she wasn't using them while reading?
She used them, but she treated the dictionary as a textbook, not as a real-time translator.
Ah, okay. So she would sit down with the dictionary separate from her reading time and study it to understand the underlying architecture of the language.
Exactly. She would look at spelling rules or how root words mutated into different parts of speech.
And when she was building her own vocabulary notebook, she had this very strict, unbreakable rule. She would never copy the dictionary's example sentence.
Think about the sentences you see in a standard dictionary. The dog ran across the street. He commutes to work.
They are incredibly sterile.
They are completely lifeless. You have absolutely no emotional connection to that fictional guy commuting.
None at all. So Kato insisted that every sentence you write in your notebook must be intimately tied to your own life.
It has to mean something to you.
Right. If the word is commute, you don't write he commutes. You write, my commute takes exactly 47 minutes, and I hate every second of it.
That emotional tether is the secret ingredient. It moves the information from abstract, isolated data to personal relevance.
Which our brains love.
Oh, our brains are evolutionarily wired to remember things that affect us personally, socially, or emotionally. By injecting your own life into the vocabulary, you are hacking your brain's natural priority filters.
And she paired that personal connection with a really fascinating mechanical trick for absorbing new words.
The delayed review.
Yeah. She would listen to foreign radio broadcasts. Obviously, today we would use podcasts or audiobooks. And she would jot down the unknown words she heard.
Right.
But here's the part that completely threw me. She would deliberately delay adding those words to her permanent vocabulary notes for 1 or 2 days.
It sounds so weird, right?
It does. If I don't write something down and study it immediately, it evaporates from my brain. Why deliberately wait and risk forgetting it?
On the surface, it seems counterproductive. But if we look at the cognitive science behind memory, what Kato was doing was forcing her brain to struggle.
Struggle.
Yeah. When you learn something and immediately review it, it's still sitting in your short-term working memory. It's easy to recall, so the brain doesn't expend much energy on it.
It's like having the answer key open while you take the test.
Precisely. You aren't really learning it. But by waiting a day or two, she allowed the memory to decay just a little bit.
Oh, I see where this is going.
When she finally sat down to review those notes, she demanded that her brain actively retrieve the information. The brain has to work hard to find that memory trace.
So she was effectively inventing the modern concept of spaced repetition, which is what algorithms and flashcard apps use today.
Yes, but she was doing it relying purely on intuition back in the 1970s.
That is incredible. So that cognitive friction, the actual mental strain of trying to remember what that word was, that struggle is the signal.
Yes. The struggle tells your nervous system, hey, we are expending a lot of energy trying to retrieve this data. It must be important.
We need to save this.
Exactly. We need to strengthen the synaptic connections so it's easier to find next time. The struggle isn't a sign of failure. It is the physical mechanism of learning.
The struggle is the feature, not a bug.
I love that phrasing.
Okay, so we've covered how she absorbed the language, the input phase. We are reading without stopping. We're creating internal microclimates. We're personalizing our vocabulary, and we're delaying our review to create cognitive friction.
That's a solid foundation.
But eventually, you have to actually produce the language. You have to communicate.
The output phase.
Right. And Kato warned about a massive, dangerous trap when it comes to the output phase. This is the trap that keeps most learners perpetually stuck on a plateau, making the same mistakes for years.
It's perhaps the most overlooked method in her entire system. Well, while most people emphasize conversational practice, just getting out there and speaking, Kato placed a massive emphasis on written translation.
Written translation. She advised taking just 3 sentences from your native language and translating them into the target language every single day.
Just 3 sentences.
The reasoning here is brilliant. When you speak out loud, your errors vanish into thin air. You conjugate a verb wrong or use the wrong preposition, but the conversation moves on.
The other person understands your gist, so no one corrects you.
Exactly. And the next day, you unknowingly repeat that exact same error. But writing, as Kato beautifully put it, pins your mistakes on a needle under a microscope.
It forces the invisible to become visible.
That makes so much sense when you think about muscle memory. It is exactly like practicing a golf swing with terrible form.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy, yeah.
Because people always throw around the phrase, practice makes perfect. But that's a total lie. Practice doesn't make perfect.
Practice makes permanent.
Yes. If you output blindly in conversations without ever analyzing your grammatical structure, you're not getting closer to fluency. You are just getting really, really good at making mistakes.
You are cementing bad habits. And uncorrected errors are incredibly stubborn once they settle into your long-term memory.
They're so hard to unlearn.
Very hard. But there's also a deep psychological brilliance to the writing exercise. Think about what happens to your body when you are trying to speak a new language in front of someone.
Oh, your heart rate spikes.
Yeah.
You're sweating.
Right. You are dealing with the real-time panic of conversation. Your brain is flooded with mild stress hormones like cortisol.
You're worrying about your accent.
You're trying to read the other person's facial expressions. You're desperately trying to maintain the flow of the conversation so things don't get awkward.
It's exhausting.
In that state, your brain simply does not have the processing power to analyze complex grammar. But when you sit down in a quiet room to write, you force a mental pause.
You push your brain into a deeper analytical processing mode.
Exactly. You can safely question whether you used the right verb tense without the social pressure of an audience waiting for you to finish your sentence.
It's a safe sandbox for failure.
That's a great way to put it.
And the Brain Scholar Breakdown actually offers a brilliant modern application for this. You don't even need a tutor anymore.
Right, with AI.
Yeah, you translate your 3 sentences on paper, and then you paste your translation into an AI like ChatGPT or Gemini.
And ask it to correct your grammar and explain why.
Exactly. Then you physically write out the corrected version 5 times. You get immediate private feedback.
It perfectly bridges her historical method with modern tools.
Which actually brings us to the grand finale of her system. All these distinct habits, reading without a dictionary, talking to yourself about doing the dishes, delaying your notes, writing out translations, they might seem like a random grab bag of productivity hacks.
But they aren't isolated tricks.
No, they all serve one beautiful, overarching mathematical equation that Kato designed to guarantee success.
She literally created a formula for human learning. It's elegant in its simplicity.
The formula is this: time spent plus motivation. You take those 2 positive elements, you add them together, and then you divide them by inhibition.
And that equals your learning outcome.
Time plus motivation divided by inhibition. So break down that denominator for us. What exactly does she mean by inhibition in this context?
Inhibition is the fear of making mistakes. It is the social anxiety of being laughed at, the dread of looking foolish, or the internal pressure of sounding unintelligent.
It's the friction that stops you from trying.
Exactly. It's that denominator that changes everything.
So if we play with the math here, let's say you put in 10 years of time. Think about the 10 years of foreign language classes most people are forced to take in grade school and high school.
Sure. Massive time spent.
Massive time. And maybe you even have high motivation because you want to get an A on the test.
Right.
But your fear of making mistakes in front of the class, your inhibition, is massive. You are terrified of pronouncing a word wrong while 30 other teenagers watch you.
Oh, it's paralyzing.
That inhibition is a huge number on the bottom of that fraction. So mathematically, your learning outcome will always be slashed to almost 0.
A massive denominator shrinks the entire equation no matter how much time or motivation you pile on top.
So why did she frame her entire linguistic methodology around this math equation? Was her system not really about memory hacks at all?
That is the genius of Kato Lomb. When you look closely, every single one of her mechanical rules is meticulously designed to lower that psychological denominator.
Oh, wow.
She was hacking the psychology of learning just as much, if not more, than the mechanics of the language itself.
Let's look at that. Reading a book without constantly checking a dictionary.
That lowers your fear of the unknown. You learn to be comfortable with ambiguity.
And talking to yourself while doing the dishes lowers the fear of an audience. There's no one there to judge your accent.
Precisely. Delaying your vocabulary review. That removes the performance pressure of instant memorization. You allow yourself to forget, which removes the guilt.
And translating sentences on paper in your room.
That means you fail in private, not in public. Every step of her system is an engineered safe room to protect her own confidence from the paralyzing effects of inhibition.
She built a system where fear physically couldn't exist. That is profoundly inspiring.
It really is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's summarize what this means for you listening right now. Kato Lomb's legacy as a 94-year-old polyglot and Cold War interpreter proves that your external circumstances are not your biggest hurdles.
They're really not.
Having no time, having no money, and having no perfect immersive environment, those are just excuses. Your biggest hurdle is your own self-consciousness.
Your inhibition is the only thing actually stopping you.
If you can lower the fear, The mechanics of learning naturally take over.
Yes.
By reading blindly and embracing the unknown, by personalizing your vocabulary so it actually connects to your daily emotions, by deliberately delaying your reviews to force that cognitive friction, and by writing out your mistakes in private so you can examine them under a microscope, you can master incredibly complex systems.
It works for any.
It does. And I highly encourage you to try just one of these methods today. You don't have to go learn Russian. If you are learning to code, write out your broken code by hand in a notebook to analyze it slowly.
It's a great idea.
If you are prepping for a stressful public speaking engagement, narrate your commute out loud to yourself to build that internal microclimate.
Yeah.
Do whatever it takes to lower that denominator.
You know, this raises a really important, slightly uncomfortable question to leave you with today.
Let's hear it.
If Kato's formula is true, that high inhibition and the fear of public failure absolutely destroy the brain's ability to learn, then think about traditional schooling.
Oh, man.
The public pop quizzes, the anxiety of standing up to read in front of your peers, the glaring red ink corrections handed back to you.
It's all built on fear.
That entire environment is fundamentally opposed to how the human brain actually acquires knowledge. It maximizes inhibition.
It really does.
It leaves you wondering, what brilliant skills, what deep, fulfilling passions did you give up on years ago?
Right.
Not because you weren't smart enough, but simply because a classroom artificially inflated your fear of making a mistake.
What could you have built if no one was watching you fail? It turns out the vault of your own potential isn't locked by a lack of genius. It's just waiting for you to stop looking for the manufacturer's code, pick up a bobby pin, and trust yourself enough to listen to the tumblers click in the dark.